I have come here tonight to do two things. First of all, I want to lend my support to my friend, my comrade, and my colleague, Gregory Nichols, who I anxiously look forward to trouncing St. and removing that painful imposition from the constituency of St. Michael Northwest. The second thing I want to do is to have a straight talk session with you. You know, Friend Stewart tells you that he and his Democratic Labour Party have worked hard and that they have done their best. I want to tell you and to tell them through you that tonight we are in a position where we can say 4 years later that we gave to Fumble Stewart and his Democratic Labour Party an economy that shone like a beacon upon a hill. They say they worked hard and that they did their best, but they succeeded only in extinguishing its glow. To the extent that they worked hard, they have failed. And worst of all, they have failed you. We didn't only give them an economy, we gave them an economy and a society which together was the jewel in CARICOM, the prize in CARICOM, the place where everybody wanted to be. Tonight, they say they have worked hard and that they have done their best. But Barbados today is outperformed in CARICOM by 10 of 14 of its members, including Guyana. We didn't just give them an economy and society, but we gave them a Barbados brand. I'm going to use Dennis Kelman's term. He like to talk about a Barbados brand. It is a Barbados that was handed to Fumble Stewart and the Democratic Labour Party. It was a brand that was internationally categorized as being an icon, and we were put on the highest of pedestals alongside Dubai and Qatar and Malta, the best of the best. And tonight we have another international categorization. They tell us that our credit rating is junk. And Fumble Stewart and his Democratic Labour Party will tell you that they worked hard and they did their best. So that tonight the categorization that Barbados painfully and shamefully has to share as a result of Fumble Stewart's mismanagement of this country and Chris Sinclair's fiasco as a finance minister is that this Barbados, yours and mine, is categorized alongside Somalia and Haiti. Now I want to tell you something. Those people have failed you and they have failed you miserably. Miserably and unconscionably. The Democratic Labour Party has done their best and they have removed pride. They have done their best and they are killing industry. They have done their best and they have put foreigner people to make sport and laugh at we. And for that they say that they should be given another term in government. For that they say that you should endure 5 more years of Fumble Stewart. And I want to hear you tonight. Are you prepared to endure 5 more years of Fumble Stewart? I cannot hear you. What would you have Fumble Stewart do? What would you have him do? And how soon should he do it? Colleagues and friends, this is the second time. Let's be very frank, man. This is the second time in 2 terms that this Democratic Labour Party has visited financial embarrassment upon this country. It is the second time in 2 terms that a Democratic Labour Party Prime Minister stands hopeless and helpless in a shambles, while financial embarrassment reigns over this land. Happily for you, happily for this country, it is also the second time in 2 terms that Barbados now cries out to be rescued, restored, and rebuilt under the able leadership and command of Owen Seymour Arthur and his Barbados Labour Party. I want to say that we have to engage in a very frank discussion. You have heard Clyde, you have heard Mia, and I want to echo their sentiment. I do not subscribe to Chris Sinclair's philosophy and approach to politics. Let me say that at the beginning. I do not subscribe to the view that you can come and smear feces in somebody's face and tell them, don't worry about the smell, it is cocoa butter. I feel that we have a duty to sit down and talk with you, or stand here and talk with you, and to let you know our perspective on some of the difficult things that this country is facing and that this country will continue to face. And to put our perspective in consultation with you as to how we feel we can prioritize the things that need to be changed in Barbados. Having consulted with you, then we will proceed. And part of that which we have to do is to do it in a very candid way. One of the first things that we got to talk about in this country is the continuous expansion of social entitlements in Barbados. Let me be very frank. That which took place in this country in the last election must never ever again happen in this country. We had a Prime Minister then who was replaced by an opportunist who came to the people, and all he did was to identify interest groups and target in every interest group a need. Not necessarily a grievance, but a need. That's what David Thompson did to you. He identified civil servants and he said, what is their need? And that is how you came up with this concept of duty-free cars. It's a beautiful thing, it sounds good. But when you pause for sober and mature reflection, you ask yourself, how on earth is Barbados going to pay for it? And 4.5 years later, the Dems behave as though that was not part of the rung of the ladder upon which they ascended on the people's back. Not a word from Sinclair. You know, United States of America and Canada would love to be able to say every civil servant have a car without duty. England too, but they can't do it. Nor can they say to you or to their people that it is possible to have a house on which there is no interest being charged on the mortgage. But David Thompson identified interest groups and he pledged to them that with the stroke of a pen and the wave of a magic wand, he can get a $250,000 and $350,000 loan to function without a cent being paid back in interest. Nowhere in the world can it happen. But it was done here by way of a pledge. And no sooner than he got the office he sought, he turned his back on the people. I ain't going to why God take you out. God knows that. He moves on high. I find no fault with that which he does. Won't do it. But I will say to you, that in the same way as they do that, and in the same way as they came only a couple of weeks ago and introduced yet another social entitlement. And let me say, I practice law in this land. I too have stood at the magistrate's court and seen the pain and the agony of people who go there in order to get child support to be turned away and said it is not there. But I also know that the solution that Fumble Strode and Chris Sinclair are trying to visit on Barbados is not a solution. I know that tonight, right here in Deacons and right there in Ferniehurst, there are people who were married and the marriage fall apart, and the father of a child may have turned his back on his child. The mother is struggling. No relief has been put for her, nor will any be put. People living in a union other than a marriage for 20 and 25 years with children not being looked after. No relief has been put or will be put. But we create yet another artificial entitlement that they can't finance, and they are not financing. As recently as last Saturday on the West Coast, a lady approached me with tears in her eye. 2 children from 2 different fathers, and all 2 had announced to her, well, they ain't bothering with that there no more, because the government gonna pay. This is what we are foisting on Barbados. A solution from both short would be to empower the welfare agencies of this country. A solution from both short would be to make sure that the marshals of the court are given that which they need to do to enforce the court orders. A solution from both short would be to ensure that at the very minimum you have some sort of a check and balance in place so that social investigation can be done. So that if a multi-millionaire decides that he got a girlfriend here in Ferniehurst, but he decides all of a sudden that he is no longer going to do that which he should do as a father, that you, the people of Barbados, taxpayers' dollars, would have to do it for him. But it's a free-for-all that Thunder Short has visited on this country. A free-for-all. And then they tell you that they will go after the delinquent parent. How can they? If you ain't paying now, how you going to pay then? Spend more taxpayers' money to hunt him down. But the larger point is this. The larger point is this, colleagues, that we are foisting on this country a dangerous level of social discohesion. The broken promises, the artificial promises, the deliberate deception, as was done in the last Democratic Labour Party campaign, can only serve to alienate the population from the governance process. That people will say I ain't voting no more. That people will say I am participating in the polls and so on. They don't want to perform civic duty. It is a destruction of Barbados' social fabric, and we have to frankly confront it and wrestle it to the ground. The second point that I want to raise with you is that part of the straight talk that this platform must have between now and election time is that we have to determine what is the legitimate and economically permissible, understand what I tell you, legitimate and economically permissible extent of the things that the public purse can get involved in. As I speak to you tonight, the Democratic Labour Party is engaged in the abuse of the taxpayers' pocket on a private partisan political agenda. They are now in the business of paying people to walk about in a constituency, calling themselves councillors, community councillors, or constituency councillors. Upwards to yesterday, I saw some as we were going to, as I was on my way to a meeting at party headquarters in Robert Street. Stop the car. I recognized one of them. What are you doing out here? You don't live in the city? Nobody on the council. Got a big Ivy Den t-shirt, yellow shirt. The same shirt they wore in the Democratic Labour Party campaign. I'm a councillor. But what are you doing out here? We're going on a meet and greet. We're going to meet and greet the elderly. Paid canvassers. They don't take your money and spend it on fares. But I've heard Mia Motley make the point that they're now taking the money of the public and burying their members of the Democratic Labour Party. Santi in the Senate alerted the Senate only on Wednesday to the fact that there's a man who knows supposed to be running against her. And he's ready now to give away washing machines to football teams so they can wash the jerseys. This blasted foolishness has to come to an end. public purse cannot be raided and ransacked on the basis of fulfilling a Democratic Labour Party agenda. It cannot continue. And we have to draw the line, comrades. We have to draw the line. And Chris Sinclair will tell you that he's doing his best and better cannot be done. Well, I perhaps should tell you that I know Chris Sinclair better than you. I know Chris Sinclair well, and people who know Chris Sinclair well will tell you two things about Chris Sinclair. The first is that he is allergic to the truth. He will break out in hives rather than tell you the truth. But the second thing is that he is also incapable of an original idea. And anything you hear Chris Sinclair say, look behind it to see who it is that he picked it from. If Chris Sinclair expresses an idea to you, rest assured that it has been taken from somewhere else, it has been imbibed, and then it has been regurgitated. If a brain was a building, Chris Sinclair would become a political burglar in order to get at an idea. And I know, when I hear Chris Sinclair say that he can do no better, that the person who he gets it from is the gentleman that Kerry refers to as the legitimate Deputy Prime Minister of Barbados, the Governor of the Central Bank. And you hear the Governor of the Central Bank every time he has to speak, telling you that nobody could do any better. The best is being done and no one has any silver bullet to solve the problem. No one could do better. Tell the little world for me that when he wants to walk that political walk, that a Barbados Labour Party will soon, hopefully, be once again in charge of this government. And that when we so do, that which will be done better will be that we will make sure that we pay the wages and salaries up at the University of the West Indies that this government refuses to pay. Every month, the wage bill at UWI is $7 million. And every month, for the last year, this Democratic Labour Party is in arrears by $6 million. Every month. And if you were following the news this week, you would have heard the Dean. This is the Barbados Labour Party telling you so. It's not the Barbados Labour Party telling you so. The Dean of the Faculty of Law stood up 2-3 chairs from me in the Senate on Wednesday. And she told the chamber that the government of Barbados is now in arrears at UWI by $100 million. $100 million this government owes to UWI. Now that is not any international recession. That is that Chris Sinclair and the Minister of Education get and decide that they are changing the terms of reference and making all sorts of foolish complaints about UWI and meanwhile refusing to pay the bills. And we have come to a point now, in fact, it was so embarrassing, objectionable, obnoxious Maxine McLean get it. And that's not true. It's not true. And I'm going to complain to the Minister of Finance and I'm going to get the correct figures and march out the place. She came back 10 minutes later. Ain't had a word to say. Sat down at a chair. I tell Santia, she went, she asked, and she ain't like what she hear. So I get up. You know what I mean? I don't run from a little confrontation. I got up. And I asked for her to explain what the correct figures were because she said that she was going to complain to the Minister of Finance and get the correct figures. And you know what Maxine McLean said to us? The exact figures are not available. But she is satisfied that the $100 million figure is inaccurate. Now if you don't know what the figures are, how on earth, Maxine, how on earth could you know whether or not it is accurate? But these people are making mock sport at us. We are in a Barbados, comrades and friends, where we have to get serious about the things we are prioritizing and understand that we must pay close attention to those things that matter most. I will never be persuaded that your taxpayers' bill should be used through a community council in order to host a fair. I will never be persuaded that your taxpayers' money should have to go to do a summer camp. I can say that because for 5 years as a member of parliament, I held a summer camp every single summer for 150 children. And they were I never had the millions of dollars thrown at me. I asked each parent to contribute $1 a week. $1 a week. But we drew on the voluntaristic spirit of the community. We used pavilions that would otherwise be empty during the day. We went and we asked teachers who were on vacation to come and take care of the children. We went and asked footballers and cricketers to come and lend of their talents. We went and asked the church and other people who had vehicles to help the little children on a tour. And it worked. We didn't have any money to pay a DLP operative $15,000 a month to cook food. But that's what's happening with your money. That they are now paying people $10,000 and $15,000 to cook food per month for 200 children. Huh? And I'm saying to you that it is unacceptable. And part of that which we have to do is to candidly put these things before you and explain that this time around, Barbados must prioritize the things that matter most. I also feel that we got to confront this foolishness about the foreign exchange reserves being allowed to slip and a government not taking seriously its responsibility to promote growth. The whole world told this country in March that the economy was stable. We just get a downgrade. The whole world told you in March the economy was stable. You know, Clyde and I were sitting down looking at the foreign exchange takings for the first quarter. Barbados in the first quarter, in the height of the tourist season, when the hotels got in people, when the cruise ships are coming down because they're bringing people from the cold climate to get a little respite in the warmth of the Caribbean water, Barbados made $3.8 million in foreign exchange. Now you may not know, but and I took the time to walk with a little research. This is where we are now. $3.8 million in the first quarter of 2012. Do you know that over the last 20 years, these are the figures that Barbados are accustomed getting in the first quarter? In 2009, 181 million. I can't give you all for about limited time. In 2007, 247 million. In 2005, 130 million. In 2002, 156 million. In 1999, 181 million. In 2000, 121 million. In 96, 125 million. In 97, 105 million. Those are the kinds of figures we expect to be getting in the first quarter. So if you are only going to bring in $3 million in your first quarter, you understand what is happening to this economy all now through summer. That thing's dead. That about one ship coming in a week at the Bridgetown port. You understand what is happening to the taxi men in Barbados? What's happening to the restaurants in Barbados? The hotels in Barbados? All of the ancillary services in this country? And don't think that Christmas is bringing you any goodies. And that's why it is urgent that we get rid of Fumble Short and his government. It is urgent. The Barbados Port Inc. has made available cruise ship, I see the light, passenger arrivals. And I want you to know that in 2008, when we left these people a government, we had 78,000 passengers coming into Barbados. You know, we get 65,000 in November, 13,000 less. In December of 2008, we had 121,000 passengers coming in on boats. This December, you can get 70,000, 57,000 less. In January of 2009, we left them with 125,000 people coming in on boats. In January of 2013, you're going to get 46,000 less. In February of 2009, we left them with 107,000 coming in on boats. In February of 2013, you can get 50,000 less. There is no bright light on the horizon. This country is being left without hope. And it is unacceptable for Fumble Short to come and tell you that when a downgrade has been visited on this country to take it to junk status, and investors will now turn their backs because they're under a duty not to invest people's money in something that has no credit worthiness. Fumble Short will tell you, don't worry, it ain't gonna make a difference to your standard of living. The man is taking leave of his political senses. And we have to rescue him from himself. We have to be prepared, comrades and friends, to realize that the time has come for a sweeping change in this country, a change at the helm of government, a change in the reins of command, a change in the direction in which we are taking Barbados in order to restore promise, restore hope, restore a spirit of dignity, a sense of competitiveness, rebuild, to rescue Barbados. And I beg of you, in doing so, vote in large numbers for the Barbados Labour Party.